Hi there. How are you guys doing today? What am I doing now, you might ask? Well, I'm making myself a snack. I think you guys should get your snacks ready too. You got your bathrobes ready? You got your popcorn, your candy? Well, I hope you do. Today is a different day. Alright? Tonight is a different night. Fridays are now called Friday Night Frights, where we have to, oh, my food's ready. Freaking, where we will undergo the scariest of the scary things. Now, I've heard some things about these stories. I've heard that these are probably the most scariest stories on YouTube. Honestly, to me, you already know I don't get scared at all. So, let's get right to it. Story number.
This happened when I was 15 years old. My best friend Anthony wanted me to come over for the night since his parents would be gone all weekend. I rode my bike over and put it in his backyard before letting myself in through his back door. We played basically every video game he had, from FIFA all the way to Call of Duty, with popcorn and other junk food spilled out all over the floor.
Okay.
As the night progressed, we moved from video games to watching half a movie and getting bored to doing prank calls at close to 10 o'clock. Anthony made a few calls to different pizza places. When it was my turn, I just dialed a few random numbers in hopes to get someone at their house.
What?
On, say, my fourth attempt, I finally reached somebody. A guy with a deep and rough voice picked up, answering with a yeah instead of a hello. Anthony's laughing in the background made me stumble with my words.
Oh my god. I can't believe that. If you call somebody and they say yeah, that's somebody that's already down to business, right? They already know what they want. Stay away.
Words mid-sentence, ultimately cracking up into laughter. I had never done a prank call, so I sucked at it. The guy on the other end was silent. I regained a straight face and tried to continue with the call. It went something like this. Sir, would it be alright if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car? What's your name, kid? My name is Bob.
He missing a tooth?
Really? You sure it's not Anthony? It hit me like a brick. I looked up at Anthony, whose face was noticeably full of fear. I hung up the phone, not wanting to be on the line with whoever that was for another second. Anthony, who the hell was that? I asked him. I don't know.
You lying.
Does your caller ID info display your name or something? No, it shows my dad's name. We hopped on the computer and did some research.
Why would you, sorry for pausing here. Why would you not call from a blocked number? I don't understand.
Trying to figure out how it was possible to get someone's name through their phone number. It didn't make sense how he could get Anthony's name so quickly. He was way too young at the time to be on any of those personal information sharing websites. We ended up asking a question on Yahoo Answers, since no one had a similar experience. The question turned up no answers. I suggested he call his dad, but he said he wasn't supposed to have anybody over for the weekend, so he didn't want to call. We planned on sleeping in the living room, so we just resumed watching the movie that we hadn't finished from earlier. Right after the phone call had left my mind, me and Anthony looked at each other when we heard his front storm door opening, and then the doorknob to the front door began to turn. It only was able to turn about halfway before the lock restricted it. Anthony turned off the TV, and I went over to the window to see who it was. I spread the blinds open. There was a tall guy standing outside. He noticed the blinds moving and turned to look at me.
Oh, no.
I practically threw the blinds back into place. Me and Anthony hid in the kitchen, listening
Turn
for
that
any
light
more
off.
noises.
Dang.
We heard the sound of the gate to the backyard opening, as it was right outside the kitchen window. God damn it, I said. I forgot to shut the back door. Anthony urged me to run and shut it.
Are you serious?
I made it to the hallway leading to his back door, and froze. There was a silhouette standing outside the back door. I don't think he noticed me, but he was surely looking into the house. He opened the door and stepped inside. I tiptoed to the kitchen and motioned for Anthony to follow me upstairs. We made it to his room as quietly as possible, pulling the door shut to avoid making any noise. We crawled under his bed. He had cloth covering the bottom of his bed, so you couldn't see anything under it unless you actually moved the cloth. The doors downstairs all opened, each one getting closer to the stairs. Thumps finally began up the stairs, and he was right outside the door now.
Ran up
The door
the
to
stairs?
the room opened. I could hear Anthony's breathing. It was too loud. Footsteps moved over to the closet, and then the closet opened. I could hear the coat hangers being slid around as the fabric of the jackets and coats rubbed against each other. Footsteps moved over to the bed and stopped. I felt like my heart was about to explode out of my chest. Anthony's breathing was too loud.
Shut the...
I had to cover his mouth with my hand. Nothing but
You
silence
already
in the
gave
room
away
now.
the freaking position, man.
He laid still for so long, I almost thought he wasn't even in the room anymore. I moved my hand away from Anthony's mouth and whispered in his ear, "You think we can make a run for it?" He was about to answer
Don't do it.
when the most disturbing, memory-haunting scream I'd ever heard filled my ears as Anthony was seemingly dragged out from under the bed. I crawled out and saw him struggling with the man. I desperately looked around for anything to use as a weapon. I settled with the screwdriver sitting on his nightstand. I hurried over to the man and drove the screwdriver into his back. He let go of Anthony as he let out a scream of agony, giving us time to get the hell out of the house.
You only gonna stab him once?
Running onto the
Smoke
road would
this
give away our
man.
position too easily. It would take too long to make it to his neighbor's house. We dove for the tree line in the woods and took cover behind a bush, watching the house. The back door opened as the man stepped outside, looking around the backyard. He then looked out to the woods. I felt his eyes pass me as he scanned through the tree line. It seemed that it was too dark for him to see us. Then, he turned his head back in our direction. I ducked behind the bush. "Joe, he's coming."
Are you
What?
serious?
"Dude, get up, we gotta run." He was right. The man was approaching us fast. How could he have seen us?
Cause you freaking
We
big
ran through
head,
the woods
man.
with the leaves crunching under us, giving away our position. When Anthony tripped over something, I crouched down
Oh
with
my
him.
god. Y'all can't be doing this. I'ma let if it was me, hold on, let me. I see the screwdriver right here. Right? Soon as I get from under the bed, peep the screwdriver. That's it. 911. What's your emergency?
Hoping we had run far enough. Not even 20 seconds later, oncoming footsteps from the direction we were running from came
He's
fast.
breezing.
They slowed down only 2 trees away from us as we lay face down in the leaves. Moments later, the footsteps take off in another direction. We
Oh,
waited until we could no longer hear them and took off back in the direction of the house. While running, over the sound of leaves crushing and my heavy breathing, I could swear I heard leaves crushing from behind us. We made it back to his backyard, into his house, and this time remembering to shut the back door. We were now able to call the police. Anthony stayed on the line with them, while I patrolled the back windows making sure nobody was out there. It was so dark though, I couldn't see anything.
turn that light off.
So I did something that seems stupid today. I turned on his backyard lights, And immediately in the distance, over by the woods, I saw him, standing in front of a big tree. He turned off back into the woods and disappeared out of sight. That was the last time me or Anthony ever saw him. I would be lying if I told you we heard the occasional knocks at our windows or something cliche. No, that was it. 5 years have passed and nothing has happened. Do I wonder if it was somehow linked to the prank call? Maybe. Does it make sense? Not really. But yeah, this was the story of how me and my still best friend Anthony almost died during a break-in.
Get the heck out of here, man.
You crazy for this one?
School lockdown.
It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break would finally be upon us, so everybody was getting antsy in their seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of class just decided to start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers this was not a drill and to go into lockdown.
Right before spring break?
I actually got the chills and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid-back teacher too seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must be serious. A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually started crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you." It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door, and that's when one of the crying girls screamed no.
Are you serious?
The banging on the door only grew worse as the man started screaming,
"What
"Open
the
up."
heck?" I'm gonna just give you a second to take a look at this man. This boy, yo, is this a person? Bro, son has a skeleton figure shaped head. It looks like he's just a skeleton. That's not a person. Is this a mask? He's missing like 3 teeth. Oh my god.
2 of the girls in the class were crying out loud now.
Crying.
It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door. But eventually, he finally continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum. The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was gone. My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found, but I like to think that right now he's being given the proper help that he needs.
This one is not by Llama Artist. This one is by Wanzi Entertainment.
About 10 years ago, my 3-year-old son and I moved to a house from our apartment. It was a very old building, and the inside of the house always seemed to be just a little darker and just a little colder than it should have been. Not long after we moved in, a friend of mine came to visit. The whole time we were sitting and talking.
A friend, but y'all got candlelight dinner and wine. Talk about some friend.
She seemed very uncomfortable. When I looked at her face, I noticed that something in the other room had caught her attention. Her eyes grew wide and she said, "I have to go." I asked her what was wrong, but she refused to tell me. Her odd reaction was freaking me out.
Don't y'all hate that? Boy. You be asking them like, yo, you okay? You good? What's bothering you? Nothing. I mean, your face is saying nothing. But I'm looking at you. You look hurt. Like nothing's wrong.
Yeah, so I kept after her. On her way out the door, she finally blurted out, "This house is haunted." But she wouldn't tell me what it was, or
so you just
what made her think so.
So you just gonna leave me in a haunted house?
She still refuses to tell me what she saw. About a week later, my 3-year-old son casually asked me who the old lady in the bathroom was. One day, I was leaving my house for work, and I got to the car and I realized I needed to run back in the house to get something. I walked into the house, and as soon as I got inside, the framed photo on the wall shot off the wall. It didn't fall down. It shot horizontally away from the wall, and it landed on a mosaic table with enough force to break some of the tiles off of it. I felt like whatever was in the house was pissed, and that I came back in after it thought I had left for the day.
Where's your son?
After living in the house for about 6 months, I noticed a weird square cut into the boards on the deck. There was no handle, but I was able to pry it up. The hole was just big enough to fit through, and there was a ladder going down. For some reason, I went down and I found myself in...
You living in this house for 4 years? You don't even know what your house is? Like,
what looked like a homemade basement. It was basically just a room dug out of the earth, with no constructed walls or stone supports or anything like that.
What is that down there?
It was very dark, but I could see something over in the corner. It was a suspicious looking stone. It looked like one of those old headstones you see in cemeteries. Just then, some insects started jumping on me. So I got out of the basement as fast as I could and never went back.
Some freaking...
Now this is the part that affected me the most. It's also the reason we left the house. One night I was in bed laying on my stomach just about to fall asleep, and I heard someone walk into my room. The footsteps came from the doorway over to my bed. I didn't realize until later that the fact that I heard the footsteps was weird because the room was carpeted. When the footsteps reached my bed, I felt someone put their hands on my back. 2 hands, just gently laid flat on my back and kept me there.
You gonna not...
I assumed it was my son. "What are you doing?" I asked, but there was no answer. I looked up. No one was there. I got up and checked my son's bedroom, and he was in bed fast asleep. We moved out soon after that, and we never looked back.
Boy, I'm done. These characters, man, they're not being intelligent. They're not being intelligent. We got kids doing prank calls. First of all, it's not even a prank call that's the problem. Don't come to my house and not close the door behind you. Cause if I find out you ain't closed the door, I'm folding you immediately. Secondly, if you're cleaning or if you go in your backyard, whatever, school, something. If you in a closet, if you know they don't belong, if you see somebody with a gun and you know they don't belong there on school grounds, in your backyard. Now, approaching somebody with a gun might not be the best thing to do, but you do have a cell phone. Make that 911 call immediately. Seriously. And lastly, when you move into a new home, check the house before you move there. You don't want to go and live there for 4 years. Some crazy stuff start happening, and then you find out you got a secret lair under your house because clearly the real estate agent didn't show you everything. And if your friends say the house is haunted, move out the house as soon as they say that. Believe in your friends. They will not guide you in the wrong places. Alright, about 50% of them will not guide you in the wrong places. The other 50% might actually do that. But that's it for today. Shout out to Llama Art. Shout out to Wanzi Entertainment. I like the editing. I like the narrations, and they actually do give you chills. But I need something scarier. I need something that's gonna haunt me. That's gonna make me check my house because of some weird stuff. Like, I need something like that, because if ain't nothing, if I'm not scared afterwards, then that's not really. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, continue to the splash all the A1 and that like button. Subscribe today to get all that sauce. And you know, like I always say, be happy, be bright, and be you. Have a good day, everybody.
Why you always playing on the show? I ain't finna fall down. Fourth quarter shorty, I'ma ball out. Don't go to work, baby, call out.